Welcome back to Pond House Garden. Today we are finally outside. The snow is pretty much all gone and we are tending to the aftermath of the freezing snow and the dump or downpour of rain that we have seen over the last couple days. Some of the garden beds have flooded and overall though we have fared out okay. I'm inside the polytunnel right now, which I'm protected from the rain. As you can hear, maybe it's raining outside right now. The poly has seen better days now that the ice and snow has been all over it and has fallen off. I mean, it's just kind of a mess. We might have to replace the poly. We have a few holes in the poly now where the 2x4s were holding up everything as a support structure. And when that snow came down, it just kind of landed there. And then it was the ice and the rain after it that just made it so heavy that it's punctured through. So anyway, just, you know, writing it down on the spring to-do list. What can you do when you're in a garden? I mean, there's always going to be a list, right? So in the meantime today, Ozzy is digging a hole beside me that he can now den in. So he wants to be part of the video too. And I am finally getting to planting all of the tulips that I bought at Dinter's in November. If you remember, I put a video on showing you the Dinter Nursery open house at Christmas time. And I bought a whole bunch of my tulip bulbs on special. I think they were 30% off. So I'm a little late in getting them planted, later than what I want to be. Remember, I am in Zone 8B, so we're up here on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. We have still a fairly moderate winter here, so you can plant up until kind of November or the last few weeks of the real frost. Probably November would where you'd want to be. This year, because of the freezing, the ground froze so fast for us, which we're not used to. So December made it really difficult, and of course with the snow, to actually dig the bulbs in. So what I'm going to do now with all the bulbs that I did buy later in the season, I'm going to put them into plant pots behind me, and I'm going to store them in the polytunnel. And so I'll be putting them all in here and leaving them in here because it's nice and protected from the elements. It's not going to get hopefully frozen. That's what I'm hoping, because the tulip bulbs do not like to be frozen. They're also easy to rot if they're around a lot of rain. They don't like their feet wet. So this will protect them from some of the elements. And remember too, lots of remembering today. Remember that they need 12 good weeks of cold. So if you are down somewhere where it is more warm in your wintertime, then you can buy pre-chilled bulbs. Remembering of course that they need 12 weeks of cool temperatures in order to bring out the blooms properly in the springtime. So let me show you what I've got going on. I have a whole bunch of these plant pots that I picked up free from Dinter's. You might find that your own local nurseries actually give these out for free. They end up with so many of them. So whenever I'm in buying plants, I also pick up another dozen or 2 dozen of these and put them in my truck. And today I am just going to be planting my bulbs into each one of these and properly labeling them and then putting them out with the rest. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the tulip, if you don't already know. The tulip is actually a member of the lily family, and there are about 75 species. Tulips originally were found in a band stretching from southern Europe to Central Asia. The tulip flowers are large and radially symmetric, and they contain both the male and the female characteristics. They're typically unscented, although there are a few varieties that do have a small amount of scent. The tulip is hardy in zones 3 through to 8, and we plant them in the fall, whereby allowing the bulb enough time to establish itself. It'll go through the winter time in the ground, and then it'll start to emerge in early spring or sometimes late winter. Don't be too scared if your bulb starts to emerge from under the ground during winter time and then another snow lands on it, because that snow can actually act as an insulating factor. So the snow can come down and it'll protect it from being frozen. That's the key. You don't want the foliage or the bulb to be frozen. The tulip likes full sun to part sun, and it's really important not to plant it somewhere it's going to get excessive heat or excessive sunshine in the afternoon. Tulips do not like that. The tulips come in a variety of different shapes and sizes, as you can tell from the video that I posted before when I walked you through every single variety that I bought. Remember, there can be these cute little cup ones, there can be larger bowls, and there can be like kind of some larger goblet sized tulips as well. So all magnificent in their own right. They can also be just 6 inches above the ground all the way up to 2 feet. They can be used as a ground cover, or they can be used as cut flowers. Now, typically a tulip comes just with one single stem, one flower at the top. And I say typically, things do change out there as we're hybridizing new varieties. Also, there can be anywhere from 2 to 6 leaves per stem. Many gardeners will treat tulips as annuals, and they just replant or plant brand new ones every year rather than trying to make them into perennials and spending a little more time refilling their storage tank with fertilizers and other such things. Some people find it's just easier to replant, rebuy. It's a lot less money to buy it in the stores than it is to actually find the storage and the space. And as you could see from my dahlia video before, it does take time to store them in the right place for the winter until they're ready to go back into the ground again. Some people will also risk just leaving them in the ground and seeing if they come up every year. Sometimes that will happen just fine. It has to be drier though, remember. They do not like wet feet. I cannot stress that enough. So when to plant these guys? Well, hold on one second. If I just go over here to my trusty little box, let's see. Every package will come and it will let you know when, in theory, they should be emerging from the ground. So, for instance, if I look at Kissable, how beautiful is that? Oh. So, Kissable on the back side here, it says if I plant it September, October, November, December, so those 4 months, I should see them in April or May start to emerge. Whereas Kansas Proud, watch, this will probably be the same. Yep, it is. I was trying to make a point that they're a little bit different from each other, but there's Kansas Proud. How beautiful is that one? And that one's the same thing. I can either plant it September, October, November, December. I should see them emerge in April or May. Now, you can do succession planting as well. So you could plant some in September, some in December, but Mother Nature will dictate when it emerges from the ground. So you can have your best laid plans, but sometimes she is going to contradict what you have in mind. So when do you want to plant these? You want to plant them 6 to 8 weeks before that ground freezing frost. Makes sense, because once the ground is frozen, you're not going to be able to dig in your bulbs at that point in time. It's also not good for the bulb because you risk the bulb actually freezing as well. It's just too cold. Ideally, you want to plant them in the ground when the nighttime temperature, the average of that temperature, is about 40 to 50 degrees as well. And in southern climates, if you're warmer, like I said earlier in the video, then you can delay actually putting them in the ground until December for yourself, but you want to make sure that you buy the pre-chilled variety because, again, like I said, it needs 12 weeks of real cool temperature in order to initiate the actual bloom cycle on the bulb. So where to plant them? Well, I don't know why, but I need both hands now. You want to plant them again in full sun, if not part sun. You can plant them in afternoon sun, but it cannot be intense heat. That's the key. A beautiful place to put them is under deciduous trees, because think about that. They're coming up in the spring. The leaves aren't quite out yet in the deciduous trees. They're just starting to bud out. So it'll allow for the sunshine to come in and underneath that tree still and give that filtered light. It'll also protect them from any extreme heats, although depending again where you're located, you might not have extreme heat in April and May. I know that we're not going to have extreme heat here, or we haven't in the past. I do know though that I have put some right into the hottest part of my garden without any kind of cover or shade cover on it, and they will start to tell you that they're not happy. It becomes quite obvious. So I just took that planter. I didn't have them in the ground. I had them in a planter, and I just scooted it over to a slightly shadier spot, or one that offered part shade and part sunshine throughout the day. The soil has to be well draining, a neutral to slightly acidic, a 6 to 7 pH ideally, and also a little bit sandy. The key with the soil is you want it to drain the water. They do not like having wet feet. So you have to make sure that whatever water you're putting in filters through and comes back out. Water is important though for the bulbs. The growing process won't start without water being in the soil. Flooded water, not good. Water that freezes, not good. So it can be where you water them. Today, I'm going to water my planters once I plant them to initiate the growing process, but I'm probably not going to water them for another couple weeks. We are highly humid here. We have a lot of snow and a lot of rain right now. So I'm just going to monitor and watch and just make sure that the soil is slightly moist. That's what I'm looking for. There's all kinds of ways that you can plant your tulips in the ground. Next year, I plan on showing you a whole bunch of different options at the pond house itself. We're going to go through and plant a whole bunch of tulips at the pond house. This time, I'm just putting one bag of bulbs that I've purchased. I'm putting all those bulbs into one plant pot. And then, so there's not really any creativity behind that. But I've seen beautiful waves and drifts of tulips. I've seen tulips under deciduous trees, like I mentioned before. I've seen tulips where they're just clumped in groups of 10 here and there, besides rhododendrons or underneath azaleas and things like that. So you can get really, really creative. And of course, the color scheme is important as well. And before I go any further, I'm so excited about this. Mom and I, and Dad, if you'll come along too, please. We are going to go to the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival in April 2023. It is mind-blowing, like mind-blowing. You need to look this up on the web. I think it's under just Skagit Valley Tulip Festival. Did I say Tulip Festival? I didn't say wine festival, right? It's the Tulip Festival. You can look it up. Skagit Valley. What else? I'm just trying to think of. I'll put the link down below in the video. How about that? And then you can click on there and you can take a look. Mom and I have gone a couple times, but it was years ago, like 20 years ago, I would say. It's been going on for a long time. And you're literally shuttled. You buy tickets and you're shuttled from field to field to field. And it is just amazing. The colors, the shapes, the sizes. You have to take a notebook because you're busy writing down all the ones that you want to add to your collection. Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time, and I'm going to document the entire thing. So in April, you will be a part of the tour because I will be sure to post videos of the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival on this YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, please comment below, and or if you want me to keep an eye open for a specific thing while I'm there, then please again just ask in the comments below and I'll be sure to write it down and post it in a video in the spring. So excited. Okay, back to where to plant. So you also, of course, want to make sure that wherever you're planting, it's protected from winds. Keep in mind that if you're planting a tulip stalk that is 2 feet tall, one windstorm, boom, it's knocked over. So you want to either stake them. You can stake with really nice green stakes and some of the tie. I want to show you. Hold on, I've got it over here. I think I've shown you this before. So this is just, there's a wire, a really, really small wire, a thin wire inside there. My buddy Andrew will correct me probably on what I'm saying. The diameter, Andrew, is that what I'm trying to say? It's really thin, the wire inside. And then it's got this green sheathing around it. And it's really easy to stake up and use that to stake up a stalk on a bamboo stake or some other kind of pole right beside the tulip. So really handy. It is an investment. A coil of this will cost sometimes $65. It's a fairly big coil, but it's reusable. So if you cut it into lengths that you can repurpose in other places of the garden, then you're going to get a long life out of that one big bundle of the one big coil that you buy. I'm on my 5th coil, so you can see that I like using it. We use it on even hanging like the Christmas lights outside. We'll cut them into certain lengths and just use this instead of actually having to staple or nail things into the house in order to put things up. We use it in the garden. We use it at home to reseal chip bags. If we haven't finished eating our potato chips, we actually have a whole bunch in the kitchen that we use this for too. So really, really handy. And again, you can just look that up at your local garden center, or you can probably find it on Amazon, but always be careful. Amazon does have imitations. If you want to know more, then just give me a comment below. All right, so here is what I'm doing today. I have a whole bunch of the bulbs inside here. Now, a good healthy bulb will be large in size. If you squeeze it, it's not squishy, okay? It still has a firmness about it, which is great. The roots are coming from down in this area, and you want to plant it with the pointy side facing up. That is where that green stalk will come from. Now, if you're outside, you want to plant it around 6 to 8 inches deep. But because I'm putting these in planters, I can get away with 2 to 3 inches. So I'm just going to put them in place, and then I'm just going to push them down well into the soil. Okay, and then I'll cover up the rest of the way, and I'll leave it inside the polytunnel. Then I will water right after I fill this entire planter up. And some of you might be asking about fertilizer. You can use a balanced fertilizer when you're planting, and especially if you're going to be keeping these as perennials year after year. The storage that they have inside their bulb right now is only good enough for 1 year. So we need to replenish it, and they start to store additional nutrients for the next growing season once we add fertilizer. I'm going to use these as just an annual, so I'm just going to pop them in the way they are. And I'm also using just a standard potting soil here that actually comes with some fertilizer in it already. I'm just using a premium potting soil that has a blend of different elements here. Let me see here. I've got nitrogen of 13, phosphoric acid of 10, and soluble potash for 11%. So it's an NPK mix, a 13, 10, 11. It's usually used for houseplants. I had to just grab whatever the local nursery had because I'm getting at this so darn late. Where you live, you might have more options available to you, but I just had to take what they had during Christmas time. The other place, of course, I went to our local hardware store, and you can get Pro Mix, and I have a big bag of Pro Mix I'm using as well. But I'll show you how these fare out using these 2 types of bags just from my local stores. And next year, we'll do a comparison between using this and using a homemade soil that Dad and I are working on right now as we speak. Because we are just never short of things to do, are we, Dad? So the idea is I'm going to fill up all of these plant pots behind me today. I'll make sure to put a label in there so that I know what variety is in each pot. And I will leave them out here because I anticipate that the polytunnel will not get below 3 degrees. We want it between 3 and 10 degrees. What is that equivalent to? Or 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we want it to maintain about that temperature while it's out here. Once 12 weeks has passed where it's been nice and cool, then I can either bring them into my living room and start to have some indoor flowers there, or I can watch the daytime temperatures and I can start to put them outside so that they will bloom out there. My intention with these is to put the black pot, use it as an insert, and put these pots directly into some of my porcelain planters or my clay planters that are outside. So this is just going to be inserted into another larger container. And then that way it's nice and easy when I want to go and take them out and put a different flower in. I just pull the insert out and then I put my new summer bulb in there instead. Okay, here we go. Now to the fun part. Kissable. Okay, so here is a perfect example of what you don't want to plant. So if you look at this and you see it's like squishy and hollow like. Ugh, it is not in good shape. So that was in the package. All the other ones, the other 5 are just fine. But this little guy, he didn't make it. So I'm not gonna even worry about planting him. Now, I do know some gardening friends who they don't sacrifice anything. So what they would do is instead of planting this in their planter, they'd put it outside and put a whole bunch of, put all these kind together, like a little collection of misfits, and cover it with bark mulch or some sort of leaf compost or something like that. Just put them under there and just see if any one of them end up bringing something up. But that way they're not with the rest of the good bulbs, and they're not spreading any kind of disease or whatnot to the other bulbs, especially if you're trying to build up a perennial collection. Another one. Okay, these are the ones I've done so far. So all of them are about the same type of size. So I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they're all, like I said, about the same size as one another, depending on the ones that you have purchased. Ooh, now look at this. So these have gotten warm, and look what's happening. It's coming out the top. That is the beginning of a tulip flower. Well, not the flower, but the stalk, the foliage. So it's okay that I put it in here now, cover it over, and then it will just stop its growth until it gets a little bit warmer outside. Some more in there. Yeah, these are all about the same. And they will work perfectly as inserts, like I said, into my larger pots outside. And I will continue on with the rest and get all 25 of these potted up today. Well, that's it. 12 out of 25 planted in the pots below, but I ran out of soil. So it is off to the hardware store, stopping at Starbucks for a little something to drink, and then I'll get back at it. But I hope today that helped you understand a few more things about tulips and how to plant tulips, especially if you're going to plant them in planters to be used as inserts in the spring. If you liked what you saw today, give me a big thumbs up in the comments area below. If you have any more questions, of course, you can always ask me, and I look forward to seeing those comments every single day. And remember, you can subscribe for free, and that way you'll know what videos are coming up next, and you'll be alerted as soon as I post them. The ones coming up soon will be about snowdrops, and I also plan on doing a quick video on amaryllis. So if those are 2 things that speak to you, be sure to ring that bell and subscribe. Remember, your dreams can become a reality just like mine have become. All you have to do is take that very first step. And maybe it's researching a bit more about tulips over this cool winter season. Or maybe it's going and buying your very first bulb. Or maybe buying the plant when it comes into bloom in the spring, and then treating it as a perennial and taking care of your prized little bulb so that next spring it's just as happy and comes up just as beautiful as ever. Until next time, have a great day.